Welcome to the module of this course dedicated to the pilot that took place in the city of Monza. Greenpad Monza Ride, Win, Breathe is a gamification that challenged employees from different companies located in our city to commute by bike, and in doing so, helping our municipality to move toward a more sustainable future. I'm Andrea Piantoni, an architect at the municipality of Monza, and together with my colleagues from the mobility sector and the European project sector, I helped the management of the project throughout the 3 years of financing and the 11 months of pilot activities. I'm very glad to have the chance to share with you our experience. As you can see, we have a lot to cover, so let me start by introducing our city. Monza is a medium-sized municipality as for Italian standards, is the capital of the Monza Brianza province and counts about 125,000 inhabitants. The city is very densely populated and it's famous for its wonderful Parco di Monza, a 7 square kilometer urban park that ranks among the biggest ones of Europe. It doesn't only host the Royal Villa of Monza and several other historical buildings, schools, associations and activities, but also the worldwide famous Formula One racing circuit. The city of Monza is located in the north of Italy, in Lombardy region. It has a strong identity, but is also more and more influenced by the city of Milan, that is just 15 minutes away by regional train, with an increasing movement of tourists and workers that commute regularly between the two cities. The same location that allows us to be well connected geographically and economically with Italy, Europe, and the world, is also famous for the high levels of air pollution caused by the industries, the agriculture, and the morphology of our region, with Monza resulting as one of the European areas with the highest PM 2.5 levels. The city of Monza can count on a good public transport network, but one of the main issues that our city is constantly facing is the fact that most of the people are used to move with their private cars, even for very short trips inside the city. Our city of Monza has a lot to offer to its citizens and to all tourists, but the number of people moving in such an historical and densely populated city surely has its challenges, one of them being the traffic jams and the consequent low quality of our air. The most recent studies on the movements of private vehicles in our city has shown what us locals already know too well. Almost half of the vehicles that move during rush hour are caused by internal commuting, and 74% of them cover a distance of less than 3 square kilometers, a distance that could easily be covered by bicycle. These studies are part of a recently approved SAMP, the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan of the city, that sets 5 strategic objectives and 20 actions to lead us toward a more sustainable future. As you can see in these two pie charts extracted from the SAMP documentation, the goal of our city is to change from a current situation in which the 67% of the movements are done using unsustainable transports to a near future in which at least half of the movements are done using sustainable transports and active mobility. When we decided to candidate our pilot action and the GreenPath project, we had three main issues in mind that we really wanted to tackle and that summarize what I tried to explain about the challenges of our city. The first one being the high vehicular density leading to traffic jams and car crashes. The second one is the poor air quality. As I have shown, Monza is among the European provinces with the highest concentrations of PM 2.5 in the air, and a quite fragmented cycling network. And these are the 5 objectives we wanted to achieve: a better understanding of the cyclist needs and preferred paths, a reduction of traffic jams and car crashes, the improvement of the quality of air and providing more secure streets and cycling paths, reducing the public space occupied by cars, and also giving an example of sustainable mobility action to the companies of the area. This is precisely why we decided to focus on the daily commuting of the employees of our city, and more specifically, we opted for a gamification pilot to try to increase the number of people that decide to commute by bike instead of using their own cars. The pilot also helped us in understanding their needs better, so to be able to support all the cyclists of our city and improve our existing infrastructures and cycling network accordingly. The core idea behind our pilot is the involvement of the employees in a gamification, a game of challenges, rankings, rewards, and vouchers that serves two purposes. On one hand, it pushes the commuters to switch from car to bicycle, changing their behavior toward a more sustainable alternative. On the other hand, it allows us to anonymously track their movements by bike throughout the city and understand them better. To do so, we selected an external provider that had developed a patented tracking system that works with a small and affordable device that we provided to the participants so that they could install it on the wheel of their bike and connect with the free app from the provider on their smartphone. We distributed one kit containing the device, a LED signal light, a reflective plate, and a mobile phone support to each of the participants and started our tracking. The provider also gave us access to an administration interface through which we managed and monitored the experimentation. Through the web page, it was possible to check how much of the budget had been rewarded and spent in the local shops, to create new initiatives and rankings, and also to send in-app notifications to the participants. These are some screenshots that show the main function of the app, the tracking and certification of bike trips to collect points and rewards. To use it, the participant clicks the red icon to start a session. Then, at the end of the trip by bike, he clicks it again and confirms the end of the recording. A summary pops up with the total distance, the time it took, the average speed, and the points gained with the session, along with a map of the recorded trip. The collection of points gives you access to the in-app ranking system that we specifically tailored to our project with two kinds of rankings, both giving access to vouchers. The mileage reimbursement is designed to reward our participants because every kilometer counts, regardless of the reason behind the trip. That can be for work, even outside the city of Monza, or for leisure, but only inside the city. The second is the monthly ranking, that is designed to push the competition between the participants and is linked to the number of times the employee does its commuting by bike, regardless of the distance traveled. The ranking rewards the 5 participants that made the highest number of commuting trips of the month. Having these two systems allowed us to involve and reward both people coming from far and the people that live closer to their office. A third ranking was added soon after the beginning of the experimentation. We called it the participation ranking because it mainly rewards the participation to in-app surveys and to the initiatives and events of the projects, thanks to the points awarded through the app. The in-app surveys created thanks to the admin interface are particularly interesting to us because they give us clear feedbacks and additional data coming directly from the participants. The answers are linked to each specific user by a unique identification code to ensure anonymity, and they help us in both understanding the needs of the employees and also in keeping them involved. Many stakeholders have been involved in our pilot action, starting with the employees taking part in the experimentation. Initially, there were only 3 companies involved in the project, plus the municipality and the municipality in-house mobility company, Monza Mobilità. But after the first meetings and discussions, we decided to contact all the companies that sent a PSCL, the Home to Work commuting plan, to the municipality over the last years, and so we managed to involve a total of 12 companies to the list of participants. This allowed us to distribute 200 kits to the employees who volunteered through an in-app registration process. The involvement of so many companies of the municipality helped us building a community of mobility managers, allowing us to meet them in person at the beginning of the project and also during the events throughout the experimentation, building fruitful relations that still help us to keep a successful and open communication with all the company mobility managers of the city. The shops have also had a central role in the pilot action, as the places in which the participants could spend their vouchers. Their involvement has proven more difficult than initially anticipated, probably due to the fact that our city already hosts many events and initiatives, and convincing the shops to invest their time in an additional initiative is easier said than done. Another very important stakeholder in our pilot action has been FIAB Monza Bici, the local branch of FIAB, the National Federation for Environment and Bicycles. They were enthusiastic of the initiatives, and they were immediately on board. They helped in the dissemination and in the organization of a Green Path event with workshops aimed at empowering cyclists with practical skills, like bike repairing and tips on how to combine cycling with public transport. Communication has been essential to our experimentation, and it all started with designing a logo for our pilot. We opted for including a motto to easily convey our message to future participants. It translates as ride, win, breathe, three essential steps that clearly summarize the practical side of the project and its main objective. We immediately divided our communication in two main categories. The first kind was the internal communication, addressing our colleagues of the municipality. It was the easiest one because we already knew how to reach them and to do so via three main strategies. A pilot poster explaining the experimentation and giving all the contacts and details to volunteer. Messages on the municipality intranet, that is the first page that every employee sees at the beginning of the workday, and roll-ups and information boards to catch the eye of the colleagues at the entrance of the municipality buildings. The second category is the external communication that was addressing all the other stakeholders, including the companies and their mobility managers, their employees, the shop owners, and also the rest of the citizens of Monza. This communication was mainly done via a dedicated web page on the municipality website, but also via email, social networks, and of course through the app of the provider, especially when referring to the participants. We also hosted a series of events, starting with the kickoff that helped us in advertising the possibility to volunteer and the beginning of the distribution of the bike kits, the workshop event organized in collaboration with FIAB and aimed at empowering cyclists with practical skills, and a final public event aimed at presenting the awards to the winners of the rankings and also distributing some gadgets that we specifically selected for their potential to help the daily commuting of the employees. The data collection proved very easy and engaging. If you scan this QR code, you can still visit the public dashboard, a webpage by the bike kit provider dedicated to make the collected data publicly available to everyone. The page opened at the beginning of the experimentation and also allows to see the data monthly and have additional insights into its positive impact. Here is a quick overview to the main tabs of our public dashboard, in which you can see in real time all the main data of the project, as the number of active participants, the number of sessions by bike, the average distance traveled by users, but also some very evident positive impact, as for example with the estimated amount of CO2 saved thanks to the project. It is also easy to understand which are the busiest days of the week, the busiest hours, and the average age of the users. In the Ranking tab, it is also possible to check who's winning and how everyone is doing. Of course, the data remains anonymous thanks to the nicknames chosen by the users. The collected data is helping the municipality in identifying the difficulties and issues of the commuting by bike to improve mobility, also thanks to the collaboration with the mobility managers, but is also prioritizing more efficiently the future actions and policies of the municipality toward the improvement of the cycling network. We really believe that the pilot action is having an impact on our city and the behavior of the employees. and we feel closer to the objectives we set at the beginning of the experimentation. In these final slides, we gather some of our thoughts and lessons learned in order to help everyone who's interested in replicating an experimentation like ours. On the left side, we summarize 4 main strengths of our pilot action, like the good engagement for multiple stakeholders, the easy collection of detailed and ready-to-use data, the measurable shift towards sustainable commuting behaviors, and the practical feedbacks from multiple stakeholders. On the right side, the 3 main issues we faced that we see as possible weaknesses of this kind of experimentation, as the difficult engagement of local shops, the challenges in securing future funding to continue the experimentation, and the impossibility to include the bike-sharing service in the pilot due to the need for the tracking device. We received a lot of requests of extension of the experimentation by the employees, the companies, and the mobility managers, but we face one main key issue in order to continue our project further: the lack of financing. That is why the municipality already started a collaboration with the mobility managers to identify possible future funding alternatives from different stakeholders and sources, mainly focusing on municipality budget, private companies' contribution, and on new national and European funding opportunities. As for transferability in other contexts, we see 4 main key points to replicating this pilot action: planning proper financing for the vouchers, finding a gamification app or a provider to make data collection easy and reliable, involving stakeholders and keeping them engaged from the very early stages, focusing on effective communication and strategies. Thank you for the interest you've shown in our GreenPath project and our pilot action in Monza. Here you have the links to our official websites for further details and information, and all the contacts for the GreenPath Monza pilot action.